Dabo, I want to ask you about the Georgia that you see
What's
now.
up, man?
Yeah, it's
How
good
you
to see
doing?
you, man. The Georgia that you see
Back in the
now.
Alabama days right here.
Flashbacks, huh?
Flashbacks. Whoa.
The Georgia that you see now, Kirby Smart's Georgia versus the last Georgia you saw against Mark Richt. Some 10,000-foot observations about the program now that you're playing versus last time.
Last Georgia I saw kicked our butt right there in Athens. We got smashed. And so hopefully it won't be that version. They were really, really good. But, different day and age. Man, Kirby's done an unbelievable job. I mean, they may be the best team in the country. I mean, they recruited well. They're a crazy play away from, already having a national championship under their belt. So we have a lot of knowledge of their program. We recruit against them. The state of Georgia is a huge recruiting area for us, and obviously for them. So, I think that style of play is a little different. Just comparing them to that last team. College football has evolved. I think it was as 14 maybe when we were down there. College football has evolved a lot in the last 7 years, and but I think at the end of the day, it still comes down to elite players on both sides and a few plays, small margin for error, and teams built in the trenches.
One of those guys, elite players, a guy you had, DK, obviously, a guy you gave your blessings to. Obviously, he left the program under some difficult circumstances. You wished him well. Now he's at Georgia. Is there any concerns about team knowledge? And then I guess secondly, just your thoughts against facing a former player.
Well, I mean, he's a great player, so it's a tough challenge because he's another great one, and I love DK, and pulling for him, as I said the other day, to hopefully have a great year, and hopefully have a whole great season except one game. But he's DK's a young man I love deeply, and sometimes there needs to be a change, for both sides. I don't know if anybody's ever been divorced or anything like that, but sometimes, it's just best to go a different path. But I'm happy that he's at a good place, a great program. He'll be well coached there, and I just want to see him finish well. It's no different than you'll see more and more of this with the transfer portal and the way it is. It's no different than the NFL. Tom Brady's got to play the Patriots this year. So hopefully DK don't have quite the intel that Tom Brady may have. But I'm sure his familiarity is a plus for him. But we're familiar with him too. So.
You said you'd like to play Georgia every year.
I understand why you're opposed to the playoff system expanding. Realistically, there's probably maybe a dozen programs going into every season that have a realistic shot to make the 14 playoff.
Yep.
So what would you say?
I would agree with that. Going into it, there might be 10 or 12 teams that have a real shot, but at the end of the season, there's not 12 teams good enough to win it. That's what I mean by that.
So what would you say to all the programs who are not included in that dozen, let's say, who think, okay, a 12-team playoff will never give us a shot to get in? Do you understand that?
Sure, absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. I certainly understand that. And so now it's all about the playoff. But my main thing is that it was never about that. It was always about getting the postseason, having a great season, winning your league, winning your rivalry games, having the best finish you could be. And, if you're fortunate enough to get in that conversation, play out, and that's what made college football unique. And I think the more we go, the more it's just the NFL. And so, now you got guys opting out. Nobody opted out before the 14 playoff. And I'm on record, I wasn't for the 14 playoff. I thought the BCS got it right. I've been a part of every scenario and went into the 14 playoffs. Like, well, you better worry. Well, that's what, all of a sudden, it's all about the playoff. And now you go to 12. It's really about the playoff. I would predict you probably have kids opt out of the playoffs, especially if you expand the season. So, whatever system, all the smart people working on it, whatever they put out, we're going to get ready to go play and go compete and embrace whatever. But I think it's we, as I said in there, we need to move past having the conversation of what Coach Swinney thinks or Coach Saban thinks or whoever, what they think about expansion. I don't think it matters because I think that train's out the gate. You know, I think the conversation now is what's best for the player. I think we all can know that this will be more money. I think it would be foolish to not recognize that. And maybe the fans, this is what they want. I don't know. I assume this is the fans, this is what they want. But adding games, adding practices, lengthening the season is not what's best for the player. And you know, that's how our players feel, and that's how I feel. So, okay, let's expand it. Let's figure out if that's what we want to do, then how we're going to do that. Let's find a way to protect the bowls. Maybe we incentivize the bowls. I don't know. Because all those teams, there's a lot of teams that have zero chance to win a national championship. And so let's still nurture the tradition of college football, and let's find a way to save the bowl games. And let's if we're going to expand more games in the playoffs, then we need to talk about less games in the regular season.
You think
it's my opinion.
You think